Hello, so today I would like to quickly talk about the heart, do some revision on it. So first of all, I would like to talk about the artery. The artery's job is a vessel. Its job is to carry oxygenated blood around the body, and it goes away from the heart. So the lungs carry oxygenated blood to the heart, and from the heart it goes into the artery, which transports oxygenated blood to the body. Transports oxygenated blood to the body. This is so organs can get nutrients they need, and all the wastes go into deoxygenated blood, and obviously it has no oxygen in it because all the tissues took the oxygen in. So from there, the deoxygenated blood is transported by the vein. By the vein, it goes back towards the heart. So vein is a vessel that goes towards the heart. Artery is a vessel that goes away from the heart. So the vein goes towards the heart, back into the heart, and the heart basically provides pressure so it can be transported into the lungs. So once it goes into the lungs, by gas exchange, it gets all its blood oxygenated again. And from oxygenated blood, it goes back into the artery to be transported into the body. So it's like a cycle. So I'd like to talk more about the artery and the vein. So renal means kidney, and a renal artery means oxygenated blood is carried away from the heart, and it goes all the way to the kidneys to transport oxygen and nutrients. And that means a renal vein carries deoxygenated blood back to the heart. So it gets all the wastes and transports it back to the heart. Similarly with a hepatic artery transports oxygenated blood from the heart to the liver. And from the liver, the deoxygenated blood goes back via the hepatic vein. Pulmonary is sort of the opposite way around. I'll explain that in a second. So let's talk a little bit more about the heart. So in the real world, obviously this way's left and this way's right. But in the heart world, on paper, you put it the other way around. This is because this is what it looks like when you put it on a patient's heart. So for the purpose of this, and everywhere, on paper, this side is the right and this side is the left. So this is the right atrium and the right ventricle, and this side is the left atrium and the left ventricle. So the vena cava is a vein that transports deoxygenated blood to the heart. So it's the main vein in the body, and after the tissues have got all their oxygen, it goes back to the heart via the vena cava. So then it goes into the right atrium and the right ventricle, and this gives it pressure, so it pumps it. This is so it can go to the lungs, and it goes to the lungs via the pulmonary artery. So this is what I was talking about earlier. This is although it's going from the heart, so it's artery, it is the only artery in the body that carries deoxygenated blood. So usually it carries oxygenated blood. In this case, it carries deoxygenated blood. So that carries deoxygenated blood to the lungs. So it carries deoxygenated blood to the lungs, and when it goes through the lungs, it turns into oxygenated blood. From the oxygenated blood, it then goes back into the heart. It goes back into the heart, into the left atrium, and how does this happen? Via the pulmonary vein. So pulmonary because it's from the lungs, and vein because it's going towards the heart. But note, this is the only vein in the body that carries oxygenated blood. So it goes into the left atrium and the left ventricle, and this is so it provides pressure so it can go all the way to the body. And then this is where oxygenated blood is transported to deoxygenated blood. And then all that deoxygenated blood goes back into the vena cava and the cycle starts again. So when the oxygenated blood goes from the heart to the body, it goes into the artery first, as we established, away from the heart. It has a very small lumen, which means center. This is because all the blood has a very high pressure, so it means that it can withstand the pressure and maintain the pressure, because it needs it to be transported into all the organs. The vein, after it does this, it goes back into the vein, and here obviously it has a lower pressure because it's been a while since it's been in the heart. That's why it's large. So because if it was narrow, then the pressure would decrease even more, and it would be even harder to get it into the to get it back to the heart. It also is very smooth. This prevents more pressure being lost, so it makes the transport as efficient as possible. So how does it get from the artery to the vein? So this, say in an organ, there are millions of capillaries. So it goes from the artery. From the artery, it goes into arterioles, which are small arteries, and the capillaries, the blood is pushed from the capillaries into the organs. Meanwhile, the deoxygenated blood, the waste products, are pushed back into here, and that goes into the vein. And that's basically how it happens. A capillary is a very small vessel, and it's made for diffusion, so nutrients can diffuse out into the organs, and the waste products can go back in. This is how it goes from artery to a vein. This is how it goes from oxygenated blood to deoxygenated blood. So one last thing I would like to mention about the heart is that this sort of isn't actually right. I just made it for simplicity. It is really meant to look like this. This is what it's meant to look like. You see how it's different? So in this one, it looks like this, like a box. But in reality, it's like this. So I suppose all the veins and arteries are at the top, but it is the same exact principle. So the vena cava transports deoxygenated blood into the right atrium. So it's the same. It comes from here, i.e. here, goes from the top here, and then instead of going down, it goes back up into the right ventricle. Here it shows it going down. In real life, it goes right back up and through the pulmonary artery. And then that happens, and then it comes back via the pulmonary vein into the left atrium. And then from the left atrium, it goes into the left ventricle. And from the left ventricle, it goes into the aorta. So it's the same principle. This is just easier to understand. This is what it's really like. All the veins and arteries are at the top. Remember, vena cava is the main vein in the body. Aorta is the main artery. Okay, thank you for watching.